Chesney. Now, what is the one word in the English language that I do not like?
Come again?
No. Closed. See? Because closed is the enemy of commerce, my friend.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to grab 10 minutes to make a start on this deep clean.
Right, and what if a customer came in and he saw you just elbow deep in rancid fat? Do you think that would whet their appetite, or do you think it would kill it stone dead?
I see what you mean.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 229 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that had 2 extra days to write a witty introduction. Yes, they're meant to be witty. And I still forgot. Imagine my embarrassment. I'm Gavin.
And I fully endorse hot and sour soup for all of your ills, especially those related to your sinuses and your throat.
I don't think I've ever had hot and sour soup.
It's delicious. It's not really all that sour, but it is very hot.
What does it taste of?
Spicy.
That tastes of spicy.
Yes. And mushrooms. And tofu.
I'm trying
Well,
to imagine
tofu doesn't really taste
spicy
like anything.
tastes
Like burning your tongue. Spicy.
I think that's my problem with it. Because chicken soup tastes of chicken.
Right?
And mushroom soup tastes of chicken. But hot and spicy soup? It tastes of hot and spicy. Hot and sour.
Right. It tastes more spicy than sour. The sour is just a little bit of the aftertaste is the sour. But, you know, I'm over here drinking grapefruit juice, so obviously I have no problem with sour.
You're just showing off.
Yeah. It's also good for my liver.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're just a health podcast.
We
all
are
of
a
sudden.
health podcast now.
How are you? Otherwise, you've been feeling a little bit under the weather today.
Yeah, I woke up with a headache and a sore throat, and I can't decide if it's allergies or from, you know, walking around and knocking on strangers' doors yesterday afternoon.
I'll do it. What have I told you about doing this? Gonna get a reputation.
Yes. A reputation for wanting people to vote for me.
Yes, that too.
Yes.
How's that going?
Yeah, I mean, all right, I'm supposed to do it tomorrow morning, but I'm thinking that I'm not going to do it because I've been feeling poorly. So it's like, but I'll be doing quite a bit of it next week and, you know, up until the day of. And, you know, I talked to a very nice 84-year-old man wearing a Trump hat yesterday, and that was fine. And he was nice. And he says, I bet you'll do a good job, which was very uncommittal, but also very nice.
Yes,
You
terribly
know.
uncommittal.
Right, yes. Well, I was very conscientious and called him sir because I know how to talk to my elders.
Look at you showing off
Yeah. But
with your people skills.
there was a house that was marked for me to knock on the door on the minivan thing, and they had a Trump that bitch sign in their yard. So I decided not to knock on that door.
That might be a wise choice.
I thought to myself, I feel unsafe.
That might be the sort of decision that you make, that you come home and you get yourself a nice hot cup of cocoa and you sit down and you think about, you know what, that was a good decision.
Mm-hmm. I did knock on the door of a house that had 2 huskies and a goose in the backyard. The goose's name was Poppy.
I was going to make a joke about that goose. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. Those people were Wiccan, so they were cool.
I wonder who they are going to vote for. All right, shall we preamble, my dear?
Well, how are you?
Oh, who cares? Give us some of that electoral Corrie news. Much better.
That was rough. Bruce Jones has been notified via email that his character Les Battersby will die off screen and hopes that this will stop fans from asking him when he'll return to the show while he's in the grocery store picking vegetables. Apparently this happens to the poor man a lot.
Every day, I would think, this happens
Yes.
to Bruce Jones.
Every time he leaves the house. When are we going to get Les back?
And he's like, it's not my decision, and I'm
Right.
only here to get vegetables.
Right. And it's been 10 years. So maybe not ever.
I think it's been a little more than that. Was it?
Well, he said 10 years in the article I read.
I think was it 2007? It's a strange decision for the show to make.
Kill people off screen.
It seems almost cruel to kill someone off screen who's happily living their life off screen. I worried about him a couple of weeks ago when he got a random mention.
Right, yeah.
Leanne brought his name up. I
Yeah.
think you start to worry when that sort of thing happens. But
Right.
he's been off screen for ages, apparently living his best life.
Yeah.
I don't know why or what they get out of this other than passing some more trauma and drama onto poor Toyah and Leanne, who have, I think, had their fill. This feels very much like the dead baby in the woods.
My assumption is that this is either going to cement the reconciliation between Toyah and Leanne, or is going to be the thing that gets Leanne and Nick back together, because he will be the thing that comforts her with her loss, sort of thing. The part I object to is finding out in an email. I mean, I guess it's nice that they give him any notification at all, because I'm assuming they don't really... It's not like he owns the character.
They're not running storylines by Bruce Jones, no.
No. But
Maybe they should.
But do you think he would at least get a phone call?
Or a stamped letter.
Would a stamped letter be even worse than an email?
Well, somebody's taking the time to put a stamp on it, I guess. Unless they don't put a stamp on it, and then he gets charged at the other end.
Right.
Oh, to add insult to injury.
Or it's pre-sorted or something. They stick it in with fan mail.
Yeah, I feel kind of sorry for him
Yeah.
in that regard.
He seems okay with it.
I'm sure
Personally,
he's made his peace with us some
He
time
thi-
ago, would have thought.
He thinks that fans will be very mad and upset, but he's fine with it, it seems.
You know what?
Although it's funny because there are some places where the headlines try to make it seem like he's not okay with it, but then you read the article, he's totally okay with it.
He's 71 now in real life.
Yeah,
I don't know if he fancies the hassle, although he's wrestling. So
that's right. He is. I forgot about that.
So
We
maybe he does
reported
have
on that in
some
Corrie News.
spunk left in them after all. Not like that. Maybe a little bit like that. But here's the thing. Stop doing teapot impersonations.
I'm just imitating you.
I'll do the teapot impersonations. Here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
When the Battersbys joined the show in the late 90s, people like my mum would say, well, this isn't the Coronation Street I recognise.
Right.
The Coronation Street now isn't really the Coronation Street of Les Battersby when he left.
Right.
It's like the show's moved on. EastEnders brings back old characters. As far as I can make out, I don't watch, I just read in the soap news
Right.
of another old character coming back, or so-and-so makes a return. I don't know that Corrie's all that guilty of doing that, although we have Bethany back.
Right. And they brought back what's her name? The one who tased Jenny. What's her name? Sharon?
Oh, Sharon, yeah.
Yeah. And then they brought somebody else back, but only really briefly. Oh, Spider. They brought Spider back.
Maybe. It doesn't feel as egregious.
And they just brought Jesse back.
But that's for a purpose. That's not as a returning regular character. He'll be gone as soon as
Yeah.
Gail's gone, I would imagine.
They brought Nick back.
Yeah, maybe they do. Maybe they do. I never get the sense that they do it as much as others. But
Yeah.
maybe they do. And maybe there was time for Les to come back. But I don't think now is the time for Les to come back.
And now he never will.
I think maybe 5 years ago was the time for Les to come back.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think it's kind of shitty the way it's been handled. But
Yeah. I do find it weird when, like, there are things like funerals or weddings or something, and people you know are related to these characters
Right.
don't show up.
yeah.
even just for the day, just to be there. It feels weird to not have certain family members there for things, for important events.
Yeah, where do you draw the line, I guess, though?
I suppose.
Anyway.
Jack P. Shepherd's wedding date is in 2025, but that hasn't stopped him from shopping for wedding clothes and sending out save the date cards designed by muralist Dave Draws.
Oh.
We'll be sitting by the mailbox, Jack, just waiting for it to arrive.
Oh,
We understand.
It's going to be a Roy t-shirt all over again.
International mail. Yeah, but I genuinely think we should have gotten the Roy t-shirts. I am absolutely kidding about wanting to go to Jack P. Shepherd's wedding.
Yeah, we wouldn't go even if we were invited.
Unless he threw in plane tickets.
Right.
Then we'd probably go.
Then we might go.
Yeah.
If they threw in plane tickets and all expenses paid, we might go.
Yeah. Maybe.
This is how I deal with rejection.
And if we did the podcast live at the wedding reception or something. I don't know.
Might be a little bit too loud for that.
And finally, David Nielsen was out watching the football at
Oh,
St. Mary's
yes.
Stadium, cheering on Leicester City and chanting 2-0 up and you fucked it up along with the crowd. Roy would be horrified.
He looked like he was having a ball.
He looked like he was having the time of his life. God bless him.
Yeah, I saw 2 clips of it. There was one that kind of really went viral.
Right.
And then there was maybe the guy that took the video, but he posted a photograph of himself with his arm round David Nielsen, who was looking very pleased.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, what a lovely picture. And the guy says, he was such a delightful person in real life.
Oh, of course.
And you know this, right? But it's
Yeah.
always nice to hear it.
Yeah, it's like, who's someone else who is delightful in real life and you're like, oh, of course they are.
Bret Easton Ellis.
Fuck you. Absolutely not.
No, he's not my hero anymore.
There's nothing about Bret Easton Ellis that says to me he's a delight in
Do you know,
real
I bet
life.
he'd be a lovely man to invite to a dinner party.
I don't think so.
So what was the question again? Because that was my kind of joke answer.
Right, yes. Who's another celebrity that you hear is delightful in real life and you're like, oh, of course they are. Like Keanu Reeves is delightful in real life.
I hear that he gives up his subway seat.
And he helps carry equipment and stuff up the stairs on the John Wick set and stuff. And rescues puppies, I'm assuming.
What we're saying is that David Nielsen is exactly like Keanu Reeves.
Absolutely.
And the polar opposite of Bret Easton Ellis.
Yes.
You heard it here first, folks.
And that's Corrie News.
That's Corrie News. A slow week.
A very slow week.
Excellent stuff. Well, let's move on to the...
I had to go all the way back to Monday's email of my Google alerts to get 3 pieces of news.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, let's move on to slightly choppier waters this week as we move into the feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. Wendy writes in, Dee Dee leaving the social services person alone in the filthy apartment for what seemed like an hour just to get some peppermint tea. Okay, I get it, I guess. We'll come to that.
That was hilarious.
Remember when Jack left ITV Corrie's dad alone to get milk or something? Is this a thing? Great question, Wendy. Also, thanks, Dee Dee, for bailing on Lauren and her premature infant. Dev, I just can't. Maybe he should lend some staff to help deep clean that grease trap. Bobby!
Phone!
Walking along the bumpy cobbles with his wheels, Joel is hanging with Laura Palmer now. Yes, he is. Thank you, Wendy. The Dean Les Paul writes, hi, you two. Noted that Gav was missing Moira over in the medical centre. If you really want to hear her, and she has a fine voice, listen to The Archers. Easy to download on BBC Sounds. Helen Titchener, probably Archer again now as her abusive husband died. She stabbed him. She went to prison, was released, stalked by husband, lived in fear. Husband contracts a terminal illness. He dies. She carries on making championship cheese and is really Greek in real life.
Ah, you know what? I think I knew she was Greek. She looks Greek.
Yeah. All normal, everyday, knockabout soap stuff.
She looks like she would fit in the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding 1, 2, and 3. She looks like she would be part of that family with Joey Fatone.
Is that a compliment?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
No wonder she's been quiet on the street. She's a great actress. I was impressed she could do comedy as adroitly as Helen is a bit of a downer, to be honest, not you. Keep it coming. Thank you very much, Ian Les Paul. Then Cheeky writes, and we owe Cheeky an apology this week.
Do we?
We do, because we doubted that Logan was the guy what stole Sarah's keys.
Yes.
And it was confirmed very early on Monday
Right.
that was indeed the case.
It's kind of weird, though, that he's part of this gang, isn't it? When before he was just like some low-life,
Family.
burglar from the estate. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of weird that this is a thing.
I think it's quite nice that it fills in some blanks. Kind of paints in little corners or pictures here that characters that are kind of on the periphery of some storylines are actually linked to other characters that are on seemingly a different periphery.
I find it very coincidental and unlikely.
Bobby was being a complete idiot about Lauren and Max being together. They weren't really sure themselves, so judging them based on an emotional decision felt very wrong. Gail's heart attack was more funny than it was heart-wrenching in the scenes, and hauling Bethany's stoma and the robbery taking place were actually pretty scary. Lucy Fallon knows how to bring on fear when she needs to. She scares me. Lastly, Joseph's obsession with the school trip seemed pretty pointless because it seems all that Carter wants to do is escape poverty instead of trying to live like a normal kid and finding joy where you can, because that's what everyone else in my generation, and I'm sure yours, had to do in order to make life positive, and the fact that the writers refuse to showcase that is kind of stupid.
Yeah, I blame Granny Linda.
Yeah.
It doesn't really feel like this is really what Joseph wants.
No,
necessarily.
And I've seen a bit of commentary as well about, and obviously this is how this commentary is speaking in my mind.
Right.
Well, Gemma and Chesney can afford to send Joseph on a ski trip, so they can surely afford to buy food and stuff. But I think it's Granny Linda that's paying for the trip.
But we learned that she didn't pay for the trip.
Oh, I thought that we did, because Chesney couldn't ask her again, I thought he said.
Oh. I don't know. But still, I mean, I'm kind of with that commentator that you gave a really offensive, dumb voice to.
Oh, thanks, Helen.
I'm the one demanding an answer to who paid for those fireworks. And they couldn't afford shoes, but they could afford expensive ski goggles. Sea goggles. Those are a thing, in fairness. You do wear goggles underwater. With like your
Did you
little...
call them sea goggles, though?
No. Although you do see with them in the sea.
Yeah, I think they're just goggles, really, aren't they?
I suppose. But anyway.
But there's Rita with her money bags.
Right, yeah.
We'll come to this as well.
Yes. So, and honestly, with the whole Bobby thing, and we'll talk about this later as well, it felt like he was more upset that they lied to him than they hooked up.
I'm going to spoil the podcast a little bit. I fucking hated that storyline this week. And I'll explain why.
Well, yeah, so did I, but not because of Bobby.
Yeah, for me, yeah, but anyway, thank you to Chicky, to Ian Les Paul, and to Wendy for writing in this week. We very much appreciate it. On a abridged week, no less. But feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. Please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interest of brevity, and sometimes I just randomly change words. And now we'll podcast for coffee.
Friend of the podcast.
It ends quite abruptly as well. For
It
something that
does.
goes on too long, it ends abruptly.
Yes,
It's got everything.
I love it.
Welcome to our new friend of the podcast, Stephen.
Welcome, Stephen.
Welcome aboard. And Stephen also, being the lovely person that they are, also bought us coffees this week.
What?
So Stephen is a new friend of the podcast, and
It's not Stephen across the road, is it?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
And we have them to thank for our coffees. Stephen writes, enjoy coffees from Quality Dairy and from Bigby.
Oh, so maybe it is Stephen from across the street.
No, it's not.
They're
Stephen
mentioning Quality Dairy.
No, because Stephen was very generous,
Ah. But they also mentioned Quality Dairy.
which is in the blurb that's on the Ko-Fi site.
Oh, is it?
Tell me you've never seen that without telling me you've never seen that.
Why would I have seen that?
Because you're on the podcast. Thank you very much, Stephen. We very much appreciate it. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And we now have a Patreon site where you can also show us some love. Sign up as a friend of the podcast there at patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. But remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
So just the Monday and Wednesday episodes to talk about. The Sunday episode, now thanks to the ITVX thing, was available today to watch online on streaming, but we're not going to talk about that.
No.
We will talk about that next week when we will have 4
4
hours to talk about.
Yeah.
But we will start this week by talking about how to shuck oysters, even though that was last week. Sometimes you just have to recycle these titles. On Monday,
When you're lazy. You only had 2 episodes this week. You couldn't think of something new?
I've put my feet up too much. No wonder Canada is abandoning us in droves.
Seriously.
On Monday, Leanne is packing up the flat when Nick and Sam come in. They're splitting up the soft furnishings and the slow cookers, and they do so awkwardly, but very civilised in comparison to some of their more recent exchanges. They get a bit maudlin as they go through some of the more sentimental items like Leanne's dream wedding diary. Ugh.
Seriously, why would she even still have that? Why is she packing that? Why is she
gonna do with it?
packing that?
What's she going to do with it?
Throw it away.
Yeah, burn it. Burn it in a pit.
Yes.
Nick thought that the two of them were for life, and so did she. He apologises and accepts that he made a mess of everything. Leanne admits to playing her part, and they both look so sad as they think about how much they loved each other, and they'll always cherish the time that they had. And I thought for a minute, oh, they're going to get back together. But the moment passes,
Yeah, it does.
and Leanne leaves.
Yes, she does.
On Wednesday, Toyah is leaving to go live in some horrible flat share somewhere that apparently feels like student digs. Nick's meant to be going to Jordal Bank with Sam, but he drops that to help Toyah move, as she's a bit maudlin of how she is where she is at this stage in her life without even a sofa to her name.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty poignant, isn't it?
Yeah. She thought she would have a couple of kids and a husband at this point,
And a sofa.
and she doesn't even have a sofa. She doesn't even have a bed
Right.
that she's paid for. What age is she? Maybe 40?
Maybe. Like around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to have your own sofa by the even if you don't like it. Mm-hmm. You kind of want to have your own sofa by that point in your life, don't you?
Yeah.
Maybe start to be putting down roots and stuff, but I wonder how many people find themselves in this situation. I bet you it's a lot.
Yeah. Especially now with the housing crisis and stuff.
Yes. This decision pisses Sam off big style when it makes him late for the Jordal Bank thing, and he reckons that Nick would rather spend the day with Toyah. You can shove Jordal Bank up your arse.
Right
up your arse. Nick insists he was only helping and reckons that they can still make stupid fucking Jordal Bank, but that plan is kiboshed by another storyline. Later, back at home, Toyah comes in to hand back her keys and offers her ear to Sam if he ever needs it, and he tells her to suck his fucking balls. And that's as far as we get with that storyline this week.
Yes. I quite liked Sam being snarky for once.
A little bitey, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Ooh, a little bitey there,
Yeah.
Sam.
It's good. It means he's a real kid. Mm-hmm. And not just, assembled from parts.
What's got him so agitated. It's more than the Jordal Bank thing, surely. Is it about breaking up the home and Leanne leaving and all that sort of stuff?
Well, yeah, there's that. And also, I think he does not want his dad to get with Toyah. And I think this was, him being concerned that Toyah was more important than he was to his dad.
I wonder what he's got against Toyah, though. Oh, the breaking up the family thing again.
Right, yes, the breaking up the family.
God, he's really got a bee in his bonnet about this, hasn't he?
Well, his mom was murdered by Harvey.
Yeah, just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Around about this time of year.
Yeah. And Leanne, who is his second mom, is still in his life, but is moving out. And let's not forget, it was only, 3 years ago that he found out he even had a dad. So,
Well, I think he knew he had a dad.
right, yeah. Well, you don't have to have a dad. You have to have a mom, but you don't have to have a dad. Sperm banks are a thing.
Yeah, but that spunk comes from a man.
Right, yeah.
That's
but
your dad.
You wouldn't consider him a dad, though, would you? He's a donor.
Still,
Your mom doesn't even meet him.
sometimes that... No. I was going to say something very uncharitable there. And I've grown as a person
In the
over
past
the 8
60
years,
seconds.
over the past 8 years we've been doing this podcast. So I'm choosing not to say the first thing that crossed my mind there. Well done, me.
Well done. This is what being in your 50s is like. Learning when to not speak.
Yeah.
All right, next storyline.
Oh, we're done with that?
I think we are. I think we better be.
Leanne's dream wedding diary, though.
Yeah. Why would you even still have that? You would have thought she would have thrown... That would be the first thing she would have thrown out. When she found out that Nick was stooping her sister.
Stooping. Do you have old wedding photographs from your previous marriages?
Yes. I don't look at them. They're in a photo album. I'm in our closet.
So they've successfully made it from Connecticut to Michigan to 2 houses in Michigan.
Right, yes. But it's because I have children with those 2 people.
Yeah,
I think if I had been married to them and divorced without procreating...
See, it's a difficult conversation to have because I don't have my first marriage wedding photographs anymore.
Really?
I'm amazed that you're surprised about this.
I could have sworn some of the photo albums that we have of yours have Julie in them.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's not a wedding album.
Oh, well, I don't have a wedding album because I never had a wedding album. I had pictures, but...
So we had a wedding album and we had the proofs.
Right.
And I think I took the proofs.
Uh-huh.
But I know that she didn't want to keep the album and
No.
I didn't want the proofs. But we kind of felt obliged, really,
Right.
to take
I mean,
at least
pictures
part of it.
pictures are a weird thing now anyway, because most of our pictures are in the cloud,
Yeah.
mostly.
And you never look at them anyway.
No. And it's gotten to a point now where the Gen Z people who visit our home, who walk up the stairs where we have all the family photos hanging on the walls, find them creepy.
I kind of agree with that.
Aw,
There's a few of them that are creepy. And there's a couple of them that are creepy as fuck.
what?
I invite you to guess which.
Wait, are they my relatives or yours?
Our next storyline tonight is scenes from an awkward meeting with a social worker. Damn you, Billy Joel, and your songwriting ways. On Monday, Michael and Ronnie are in Nina's roles. Michael's still a bit uneasy about the path that they're taking vis-a-vis Joel, which is keep their fucking mouth shut.
Right.
Dee Dee comes over to shush them, but Michael rushes off saying it's only a matter of time before the cops catch up with yous. Later,
Out loud, shouty.
Racist Kelly is visiting Dee Dee about moving in with Frankie. Dee Dee warns her to call Cannies. They still need to speak to the social worker who's going to be visiting later today, and Dee Dee needs to tidy. But Racist Kelly is super excited about this. The only person that she wants to live with is Dee Dee. Racist Kelly has brought her flowers, which Dee Dee promptly bins as soon as Racist Kelly leaves.
Right, yes, because they remind her of Joel.
Yes. Maybe don't get...
Carnations.
was it carnations?
Yes, they were white carnations.
That feels kind of mafioso as well, doesn't it?
It's a flower of devotion. And actually, white symbolizes friendship more than love. So I would imagine that they were red carnations when Joel bought them. Because apparently there was always carnations stuck in with all these really, elegant and unique and rare plants and flowers and stuff.
The place is still messy when the social worker
It's
arrives.
even messier. Like that basket of clothes was not on that couch earlier.
Dee Dee's initial attempts at tidying up were to move that basket to stick it on a table or something.
Right, stick it
Yeah.
on the sofa.
Yeah, that really brings the room together.
There you go.
Dee Dee gets it into her head to offer peppermint tea to the social worker
Well, the social worker asks for peppermint
as
tea.
she's quickly tidying. But then Dee Dee comes across an old love note from Joel, so she panics, claims to be out of peppermint tea, and runs out, leaving the social worker alone in her messy flat. What a fucking weirdo, the social worker's eyebrows seem to say.
Beside a basket of clothes.
Let's hope that's the
Let's
clean
hope they're
clothes.
clean clothes. Yes. I imagine if they're on the sofa, they must be clean.
Is that the rule? Only clean clothes on the sofa.
Well, you don't want to be sitting next to smelly clothes, do you?
Well,
And they're in a basket.
sure.
They're not in the hamper.
outside, Ronnie finds Dee Dee crying and panicking, and he talks her down while the social worker quietly goes through Dee Dee's drawers. So then Dee Dee heads back to
And
complete
folds the laundry for her.
the interview, and it seems to go well. But when Dee Dee goes to see racist Kelly in the hospital, Dee Dee's been having little words in her ear here and there throughout the day about this act that she's doing to
Right.
put up racist Kelly. and
She's so
what a kind
good. What a
person she is.
good person you are. What a saint.
So that's kind of been gnawing away at her. So when she goes to the hospital to see racist Kelly, Dee Dee shits in racist Kelly's milk and tells her that the move is off. She just can't do it.
Which is, I mean, on one hand, I understand.
It was a dreadful decision in the first place.
On the other hand,
Made in haste.
and in a moment of emotional turmoil. But on the other hand, she wouldn't be moving in for like 6 months because she'd be in the foster home for 6 months.
Right. She's got to go there.
Yeah, she's got to go to the foster home. I almost said soccer home. That's hilarious. For 6 months. So that should give Dee Dee enough time to, one would imagine, to reconcile her feelings and get over her kind of weird grief thing that's going on at the moment.
Right.
You know, this feels again like a decision made in haste. The initial decision to invite her to live with you was made in haste. And this also kind of feels like it's made in haste and for the wrong reasons.
And kind of against character, really, you would say. Dee Dee, up until now, has been quite a considerate person.
Yes.
And not considerate that way, but someone who considers the situation.
And the needs of others.
But here she's very much making snap decisions that she then regrets, and then she's making further snap decisions in response to that.
Right.
And this is not the Dee Dee that we've come to know and love.
Correct.
So Wednesday, she's still in a foul mood, and Nina's rolls. It's Joel's funeral today. Kit is in the cafe, and he's keeping an eye on Dee Dee.
Swain.
So at the police station, Kit tells Swain that he thinks Dee Dee's alibi is wafer thin, and maybe the reason Swain isn't working this case anymore is because she assumed Dee Dee wasn't capable of Moida, and maybe she is. And later, when Swain meets Dee Dee in the Rovers, Dee Dee is a bit horrid to her, thinking that Swain is good cop to Kit's bad cop.
And she's also drunk,
And
Dee
they're
Dee is.
harassing her and her family, and maybe they should all just fuck off. Kit's working late at the Rovers' back room, and he and Daisy share some low-level insulting/flirting. But it very much looks like Dee Dee is still Kit's prime suspect, right enough. And that's as far as we get with that this week. Yeah, Kit's really got it in for Dee Dee.
Yeah. He's racist.
Do you think that's what it is?
I mean, most tall people are racist, aren't they?
Tall Matt certainly is. That's why he's not in the show anymore.
Oh, tall Matt. We barely knew ye
Swain has been a friend to Dee Dee
this whole way through.
kind of throughout all this.
Put her career on the line for Dee Dee.
And this is how Dee Dee repays her. And yes, there was some drink involved. I don't know that she was drunk, but
She seemed drunk.
there was certainly drink involved. And Swain kind of took it not personally, I don't think.
No.
But still, it's not nice to see Dee Dee like this.
Yeah. I don't like Kit making the assumption that just because Dee Dee doesn't want racist Kelly to live with her anymore, that means that she's the murderer. That doesn't seem to be... It seems like he's jumping to conclusions over very small things.
Yeah.
You know?
I
I mean, we already know he's a bent copper.
Yeah. We don't know how good he is at his job.
No.
And on this evidence, I guess it's not very, unless Dee Dee actually did it.
But I don't think Dee Dee do it.
Did he done it?
Did he do it? No.
Did
no.
he not done it?
Diddy did
Dee-
it,
Dee Dee
but Dee
didn't
Dee
do it.
didn't do it.
Dee Dee didn't do it.
Yes.
Okay. And yes, we probably will be doing that for at least another couple of weeks. And I, for one, am looking forward to it.
At least until after Diddy gets convicted.
Or we find out that Dee Dee did do it.
Oh, yes, that too.
Or confirmation that Dee Dee didn't do it.
Right, yes.
The other suspect in all this, though, is...
Sweet. She did have an injury.
She had an injury. We thought it was... Or we were jumping to conclusions that she's got this mysterious illness. And the way that she was kind of holding herself was like, oh, is she favouring something on her side or her arm or something? Or
Seemed more
maybe-
like her gut.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely to be Swain than Dee Dee because let's not forget, Dee Dee, when they found the suicide note and everything, was very insistent that this is not something that Joel would do. Whereas Swain, uncharacteristically, very much said, yep, well, there's a suicide note, so he
Must be
obviously
suicide
did it. Yeah.
And we haven't seen a Swain flashback.
No, not yet. I'm still just fucking pissed that Joel is dead. And
Oh,
I'm glad...
sure.
Who was it? I'm glad that at least one character on the show has voiced being pissed off by that as well. Michael said, you know, this pisses me off because now he will not see justice.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is something that the show seems to consistently do, is
Yeah.
kill off bad guys
I don't
before
want-
they get justice.
I don't want characters to make comments about somebody not getting justice. I don't want the show to recognise it to the point that
Right.
a character says something about it.
Yeah.
I'd rather that the bad guy got justice just for once.
Right. Yeah, I mean, ITV Corrie got justice done.
Eventually.
And Harvey is still in jail for the moment. But other than that, like the truly horrific, I mean, not that what Harvey did and what ITV Corrie did were not horrific, but like Stephen killed more than one person, as did, what's his name, who was married to Eileen? What's his
Phelan.
name? Phelan. Yeah. And, you know, the people who were rapists and stuff and people who mentally and physically abused people definitely should not have died, but should have seen justice. I wanted to see Yasmin look
Tim's dad.
Tim's dad in the eye and say, you know, and in court and give her statement and have him put down into jail, not to death.
Either or.
So, yeah, it happens way too frequently on the show, and I'm frankly tired of it.
So-
Harvey and ITV Corrie are the only ones sitting in jail. That's not enough.
And I think we've maybe said this already, but I don't want it to be any of these suspects.
Correct.
Still, I don't want it to be Swain, because that just ruins Swain,
Yeah,
I think, doesn't it?
it does.
It's a hard road back from
Unless it was like accidental or
murdering
something.
someone. Yeah. Well, when Dee Dee saw him in the car, did he have his injury at that point?
I don't think he did. I think it's quite possible that Dee Dee hit him in the head, but that he drove away and was still alive. And like I said, what I think happened is that he staged his death to look like a murder.
That he fell into that foot-deep stream.
Well, that he already had the head injury, and then, like...
I don't know how he gets in the stream. That's the only thing that's pushing me away from that.
Well, that he timed it so that his dead body would fall into the stream when he died. Like he was holding himself up
By the seagulls?
somehow. I don't know.
I'm not sure how he does that.
I don't know. But I really don't want it to be anybody. Unless it was his dad. Imagine if it was his dad who killed him.
I'd love it to be the dad because I don't like the dad. And I
No.
would love it to be the mother.
Because we don't like her either. Or maybe...
I like the mother less.
Right. Maybe it was his old boss. Because, people were getting too close to the truth. And he was, a messy part of their past that he needed to get rid of.
It's such an extreme response. And I know that he was a wrong un.
Right. But he was finally getting justice. He was being arrested and he was going to have to go to court and everything.
Right.
So that's really not the time to kill him.
And that wouldn't be what Swain would drag his ass in. That's what Swain would do.
Right. Unless...
And I know the Betsy thing gives her some kind of motive here.
Right.
But,
Yeah. Like if he said something really extreme about Betsy and she just kind of lashed out.
well, he threatened to kill her.
Right.
And she has proof of that in the texts.
I don't know.
Oh, please don't be
The
Swain.
whole thing stinks. And don't be Dee Dee.
Don't be Dee Dee.
Don't be Dee Dee. Or did he?
Let's move on to our next storyline. Bobby the Bergerac. Oh, how I fucking hated this. Oh, it's just dreadful. It made me itch.
For more than one reason.
So on Monday then, Bobby meets Max on the street and invites him to a new gaming cafe in town. But Max claims to be busy with Bethany coming home in another storyline. But later, David asks Bobby if he's seen Max because he's not turned up to work. So this sends Bobby around to number 8 where he finds Max with racist Kelly, and Max quickly tries to explain away. But when Bobby doesn't believe him and doesn't appreciate the lies, racist Kelly eventually admits that they got their whole off of each other. But not right there. Not right there and then. Wasn't it?
Well, it was earlier in the day, I'm assuming.
Oh, I thought it was when she was staying over.
They don't really specify, but I assumed it was that afternoon that they had just done it. And now they were downstairs having a post-coital cup of tea. And that it was...
They'd had sex, she'd put her tracksuit back on and they'd gone downstairs to get a nice cup of tea.
Yes. As one does.
It's Romeo and Juliet.
Well, they also make it very clear that it was just a thing they did. That they're not back together.
Out of boredom.
That it was just something that they both felt like they needed. It was an itch that needed scratching.
See, this is why I think it was when she stayed over. And I think she really is just round here just for a cup of tea. But, yeah, they're kind of vague about it. But we thought they were all friends.
Yeah, and he's like, if you guys want to be together, that's fine. Just be honest about it and don't lie to me.
Yeah, Bobby is fucking furious because Max knew how he felt about racist Kelly and he storms out.
Right.
At this point, he's angry about that.
Yeah.
Max isn't happy that racist Kelly confessed about the whole. He tracks Bobby down to Nina's Rolls and the two of them make peace. Max insisting that he isn't going out with racist Kelly, it was just about getting her whole. He says his friendship is more important. Bros before racist hoes. But Bobby tells him to go for it, just to complete his total 180 in one scene.
Yeah.
That's really the crux of why I hated this.
Well, yeah.
Bobby is furious and he's indignant.
Well,
he's been lied to. They were friends and fucking Max knew how I felt about racist Kelly and still he bonked her.
Yeah.
And I'm so angry about this, I'm going to storm off to the cafe. But by the time he storms off to the cafe, he's had a little time to think about it and now he's fine about it all.
He storms off, but Max needs to open the door for him.
Yeah, that kind of diffuses things a little bit, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah. And I mean, I totally understand, and that totally makes sense, but I saw some flashing lights.
Oh.
It's the car.
Did you hear a thunder roar?
No.
I think I just quoted a Europe single from 1989.
I thought it was a Bruce Springsteen song. Or am I thinking of Thunder Road?
Oh no, it was a Metallica song. Oh no. Yes, it was Helpless from the Garage Days Revisited EP. Phew, glad we got that sorted out. So on Wednesday, Racist Kelly doesn't work at the factory, but she turns up at the factory to see how Bobby is doing. He's down in the dumps, so she invites him to go to the hospital with her to see Frankie.
Oh, I was thinking of a Garth Brooks song.
Did the Garth Brooks song sound like the Casualty theme tune?
No.
That's a shame.
But it was the lightning strikes and the thunder rolls.
See, now I think about it, it's see the flashing lights, see the thunder roar. Is that what you said? Flashing lights?
I saw some flashing lights.
Okay.
And you said, did the thunder roll or the roar? And made me think of Garth Brooks.
And it made me think of Europe erroneously.
And then Metallica.
Just to recap that little 2 minutes of prime podcasting that we were doing there.
Prime podcasting.
So at the hospital, Bobby has invited Max along, and for some reason, he's determined to make Max and Racist Kelly admit their feelings for each other. And this goes on
Way too long.
longer than I am willing to write about. So
No.
I'm going to just say, eventually that happens.
Well, and then Bobby leaves, and they say, well, we might as well try. And they smooch, and then they start laughing, which made me think, oh, they've realized that they're better as just friends because the kiss was terrible, and that's why they're laughing. But I guess that's not the case. They're laughing because it was good?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
There are believable kisses. Right? There are believable kisses where you can feel it.
Right. This was not that.
No.
Bring back Sabrina. Get Gav out of prison.
Damn it.
Bring back Sabrina.
Racist Kelly thanks Bobby, which is one of the most trite things that I've seen on the show for some time.
It's ridiculous.
It's bad timing thanks to another storyline, but now they're an item, which thrills Lily. Max floats the idea of Racist Kelly and Frankie moving in once they're out the foster home, and Shona promises to speak to David about it. So here...
It's such poor timing because Shona's like, well, we have to see if your gran is going to live and if we have a house to live in
but
before
those
we can make those decisions.
But all things being equal, sure. In 6 months' time,
Maybe.
Sure. What do you think David's going to say about it?
Something trite and slightly comedic
I'm going to say...
while squinting and having his hand in his hair like this.
It's a little teapot again. So
No.
I'm going to say something comedic and
I think
slightly
this is the
trite.
sugar bowl. Because I got 2 handles now.
I think David doesn't really know how to say no to Max these days.
I don't think
I don't know
David
where they're
fucking
going to-
cares.
I don't know where they're going to... Well, in his room, I guess.
Yeah.
But bringing a baby into that house...
Well, that's if Frankie lives.
And that's still very much up in the air. Oh, he's out of the woods now.
Supposedly. But this is a soap.
Right,
And babies are expensive to produce.
I guess.
Because you have to hire 2 of them. Or buy a really expensive baby robot.
They have not bought an expensive baby robot.
They have not.
Although, it was enough to fool me a couple of weeks ago.
It was. But
Oh,
that's
the
like
shame.
a little.
The
that's
shame.
like a little preemie doll, though. That's not expensive baby robot.
I just hate Racist Kelly and Max together.
Yeah, I don't like it.
hate it.
Don't like it. Don't like it. Because you remember how they met.
Oh, we're supposed to be getting behind these far-right kids getting together. Are we?
Yeah.
Is that what the show's wanting us to do?
Yep.
We're supposed to care about this?
We've fixed it. Max was with a black girl for a short time, and Racist Kelly did flirt with her brother, Seriously.
Yep.
But now they're back together and all's white with the world.
Yeah, it's kind of... Well, they can't possibly be racist anymore because they knew some black people for a short period of time.
Yes, and now those black people are gone off the show. No, I fucking hate
just
this. It's just
fucking
wrong.
awful.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
And Bobby tried to do his
His best to be noble. At Cupid?
his Cupid. Thank you for... I'm either doing Cupid or I'm peeling a banana. I'm not sure which. That could have quite easily been Fifes.
It's
Or Chiquita, if you prefer.
I could tell that you were making an attempt at stringing an arrow in a bow.
And
Even
you can
though
also
that's
tell
not
that I've
how
never
you
done it in
string
my
an
life.
arrow.
I have done it in my life. I'm actually rather good at it. Yeah, Bobby being the Cupid. God, I forgot it again.
I think
Just
I
was-
think you were more correct with calling him Cyrano.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's doing
Because
his...
Cupid doesn't fucking care. Cupid has no investment. Cupid doesn't want to get his hole with a girl.
all right, so he's...
Cupid already has had his hole with a girl.
Yeah. So, but he's kind of forcing them, and the way that it was trying to force them by saying, "Okay, you both say how you feel. 3, 2, 1, go." It's like, are
we
these-
in preschool?
Right. It just felt so
I
immature.
like you. Do you like me? Check yes or no.
Felt very immature,
Yeah.
and
And I guess these people are still technically kids in many ways and are not very mature, even though one has a child now.
I don't know what age you think Bobby is.
I don't think Bobby's much older than Max. I think he's around that age.
See, I thought he was a good few years older than Max.
I don't think so.
Maybe not. Yeah, just even without me hating the two of them together, I don't hate them really separately. I don't think I like either of them separately, but I don't really hate them
Yeah,
separately.
because honestly, we have more reasons than racism to dislike Max. Because let's not forget, before the racism, there was the date rape drugs and other things.
He wins me
Makes
over
him horrible.
though when he just pointlessly winds Daniel up. I love that. I could
Well-
watch that all day.
Who doesn't?
But
I also don't like them kind of making Bobby a kindly third wheel in this whole mess. Again, it's a very much a Cyrano sort of comparison. You know, this person with a disability who likes the girl has to accept that he's not going to get the girl, that the person without a disability is going to get the girl, but that he must concede and be the bigger person within this love triangle.
yeah,
That feels icky.
very much so. Yeah, they can get to fuck with us. Anyway,
Anyway,
moving on, our penultimate storyline is Joseph goes skiing. On Monday at the kebab shop, Chesney is doing the deep clean that he promised to do to get some extra money. And he's doing it on company time. And Dev is fucking furious about it. He needs to do it on his own time because he's been paid extra to do this.
right. And also, the people coming in don't want to see you elbow deep in lard.
Rancid fat.
Right.
That's what Dev said. Rancid fat.
There shouldn't be any rancid fat there anyway, Dev.
Although,
This is not something that you let go for months and then suddenly deep clean.
he tells Chesney he needs to do it on his own time and before Friday, and Dev explains capitalism to Ches. Meanwhile, at the pub, Michael is explaining his thoughts on the afterlife. There isn't one. To Gemma, who looks shocked by his lack of faith.
Right, because she just lost her brother
Yes.
to death.
Next, David is to death.
I think I said to Dev, and I don't even know why I would say that
I
either.
thought he said to death, which is still funny. Next, David is into a lively chat about firing Paul into space and does an impression of Paul's thoughts in the cosmos. Hey, ain't it the Milky Way? Ain't it mint?
Yeah, and that goes on just a little too long.
Again, Gemma is shocked and upset, and Kit even says something to him about this.
Right, yeah. Kit's like, dude, enough.
Finally, Debbie comes in to regale Gemma with stories of what happened when her dad died, and that just about does it for Gemma, who disappears through the back. Kit and Jenny go through to comfort her, and Kit even goes as far as to offer his mate's holiday cottage in the Lake District for her. Bernie and the quads can go too. They can get away and take their minds off it. Back home, Gemma tells Chesney what happened at work and how down she's feeling and Kit's offer, and he tells her to go and enjoy the break.
Hey.
He'll be fine looking after Joseph. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, he'll get him on the plane. What could possibly go wrong? And also deep clean at the same time.
So on Wednesday, Gemma's leaving for her getaway, reminding Chesney that Joseph's flight leaves at 3, so he needs to be at the airport at 1, which is our first clue that something is going to go wrong.
Yes.
Chesney gets back from work later to learn from Joseph that his mates are already at the gate and the flight has been moved forward, which I don't think ever happens.
That especially would not happen for a school trip in which you have to organize all these people coming to the airport. And you definitely wouldn't send just an email the day before to say, oh, we've moved our flight up.
I don't think it was the day before. I think it was the day off.
No, they called twice the day of, but they sent an email the day before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they called, and of course Chesney had his ringer off because he was deep cleaning the Rancid Fat.
Great band.
Yeah, Rancid Fat or Deep Clean?
Both. I have never once had a flight move forward.
No.
That's not the direction that flights are rearranged.
No.
They're rearranged later.
Right.
Sometimes much later.
Yes.
Sometimes not at all.
Yes.
They
Sometimes.
never go, we're getting the 2 o'clock flight down to Heathrow. Let's make it 11:45 instead.
Right. Yeah. Or like when you've organized a school trip, you don't say the airline doesn't call you and say, hey, we had some cancellations. We can get you on an earlier flight. Would you like that? Would you like to take the seats on the earlier flight? The school would say no. We already have all of this scheduled already. This is not how this happens. No. Instead, you've got to quickly shove your kids back into your car and drive 800 miles, stopping in Pennsylvania, having to stop at a Pennsylvania Walmart to buy clothes for yourself because you have no clothes with you because you weren't going on this airplane. Meanwhile, your husband back in Michigan is the guy in the chair in this situation, making hotel arrangements and putting money in your account for gas.
I was very much Chloe from the TV show 24.
You were the guy in the chair.
Because you were bombing it down I-80.
Yes.
And I'm trying to get you set up with an easy pass so you don't have to worry about the tolls.
Right.
But I can't remember what our license plate is. So I have to go through old photographs to find a photograph of the car that had the license plate on it. Only to discover that you couldn't really do it in real time over the phone.
Yeah.
With the toll authority. But
right.
Yeah, there was a lot of moving parts to that day.
That was the one and only time we
Spirit, wasn't it?
We used Spirit Airlines, who decided that day to go on strike.
Yeah. They didn't have enough cabin crew. Or was it a pilot that hadn't shown up?
It was all of the above.
Nice.
Because they all decided to strike and call in sick on the same day. That's how airplanes and airports work. Not in the other direction.
Yeah. But as if that wasn't unbelievable enough, Ches, it turns out, has left Kirk in charge of the kebab shop.
Because of course he has. I just don't understand how it's possible for these people who work in places to just put people who don't work in those places in charge of those places whenever there's an emergency. Because this happens all the time, especially with the food establishments.
What does Kirk do? He works at the factory.
Right. Packing boxes.
So he should be at the factory.
Right. Packing boxes. And driving those boxes in vans.
So Ches and Joseph rush off to the hospital, and there's actually a
airport.
What did I say? Hospital.
You said hospital.
Give it time. So Ches and Joseph rush off to the airport, and there's actually a nice bit of misdirection of a passport that you think is going to be forgotten, but isn't. The camera lingers on the passport every time it's in the scene, and then it falls out of the bag just as they're leaving. And then you think we're going to go at the break with this, but then Ches comes back and picks up the passport and leaves. I quite enjoyed that. Predictably, Kirk's making a total dog's dicker looking after the kebab shop when the health inspector turns up.
Because of course he does.
Because now it's a sitcom. Except none of this is funny.
No.
Ches and Joseph miss the flight thanks to roadworks and learner drivers, but when they get back to the street, a nosy Rita learns of this and offers to pay for Joseph to catch a flight tomorrow. When
Thank you, Rita.
Yeah. Where were you when we needed shoes? Ches doesn't say. When Ches gets to the kebab shop, Kirk is explaining how his nails are really good at prizing open pita bread, and Dev steps in moments later and is shocked at what he sees. The health inspector orders the shop closed while he does a full inspection. This full inspection results in the discovery of a cockroach.
A cockroach.
A single cockroach. And so the kebab shop is closed until they can prove the matter has been dealt with.
And
Dev is heckin' furious.
And every deli in New York City laughs and laughs.
He's blaming Ches for leaving the place in the hands of Kirk, who's worse than putting an apron on a kebab. That was quite funny.
Yes.
Later at home, Chesney calls Gemma, appears to have the weight of the world on his shoulders, and we suspect that Dev's finally given Ches his fucking jotters. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah, he'll never find anybody as good as Ches, though.
The last time that Dev fired Chesney, I think it was when Chesney was trying to steal the night money or the takings or something like that. Remember, he was going to arrange for that to be stolen, and then he didn't do it, but Dev found out about it and fired him anyway.
Yeah.
And then time passed by, and what else is Ches going to do?
Right. And what else is Dev going to do? He's not going to find anybody else.
No.
He's already lost Tall Matt.
Yeah. And I don't think Kirk's going to be invited back anytime soon.
No.
Opening the pita bread with his fingernails.
And also,
I mean, sure, but you don't sell that to somebody.
And also the whole, the health inspector saying, why aren't you wearing gloves while you're chopping those vegetables? He's like, oh, well.
Why aren't you wearing protective
Easier.
gloves?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's not like the cabbage is going to attack me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Are we finally getting the Kirk depression story now? Because when he realizes that he's the cause for the kebab shop being closed and he'll never get a kebab again.
There are people who love this shtick. More power to you. I just think it's the same one note with this character for fucking years.
Yeah. There's only so much you can do with this character is very, very dumb.
Mm. Yeah, what more can you do?
Not much.
So it was good of Chesney to tell Gemma about what was happening when she was on her hollybobs.
Right, yeah.
Nice to stress her out about this.
Yeah.
Well done, Chesney.
Good job. I mean, she would have heard it from
Yeah, when she got home.
Rita and everybody. Yeah, and she's like immediately, oh, we don't want people to think that we're taking advantage, so you better pay Rita back immediately. And it's like, I don't think Rita is thinking that you're taking advantage when she was the one who offered to do it in the first place.
She practically insisted.
This is part of the problem with the whole Chesney and Gemma, poverty porn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they make them too proud to accept help when they obviously desperately need help, unless fireworks are involved.
Sure.
I don't think there's anything more to say about that
There's
storyline.
nothing much else, no. All right, our final storyline tonight. Exit story for a soap legend. On Monday, in Nina's
Who we
roles...
actually get to see this week.
Oh, spoiler. Sarah's asking about her missing keys when she bumps into David, who's keen to know if she's any further forward about the missing money. She's still sure it's Jessie, but can't prove it.
Which is weird that she says this when she realized last week that it was obvious that Jesse had no idea what she was talking about. And she recognized that. So why is she back on, oh, Jesse took it this week?
This will be a theme for this week's episodes, where Sarah is just insufferable in her assurance that it's Jesse, with no proof or not even any hint that it could possibly be him.
Right.
At the salon, Audrey is given her opinion on Jesse and Daniel. She doesn't rate either of them. I've always liked Audrey. She says that she learns from her mistakes, but the other women in the family don't. David hopes that
Sure, Audrey. Sure, you learn from your mistakes.
David hopes Gail will see sense, and Audrey calls Gail a fool for love. Oh dear. At the hospital, Sarah is dinging unknown callers as she gets Bethany ready to come home. Bethany's feeling a bit down in the dumps about her stoma bag, so Sarah comforts her, but she seems hesitant to go home and more so to see Daniel. And then we see that the unknown caller is Damon. He's using his arse phone from prison. Back home, Bethany is in the mood for a baked potato, but Sarah keeps hers loose in the cupboard under the sink next to the bleach and the drain cleaner, and they've sprouted, so she has to go to the shops. When she's out and Bethany's in another room, I guess this is Mason's brother then, that breaks in and starts turning the place over. Damon finally gets a hold of Sarah, who's heading back from the shops with potatoes, and warns her that Harvey's people are in the flat, so Sarah drops the potatoes and makes a dash for it. Then Damon gets beaten up by some thugs who have been stirred into a furious rage by the season 1 DVD of How I Met Your Mother. Sarah calls Bethany, whose phone is charging on the counter, and when she runs out to grab it, Logan, who's on the phone to Harvey, attacks her, demanding the money back. But then Sarah comes in, threatens to call the police, and Logan makes a dash for it.
But not before giving the lamest attempt at pushing Sarah over as he runs out.
I think he bounced off her,
He goes
didn't
like,
he?
"Ugh,
Yeah,
move."
when Sarah comes in, she says, I've phoned the police, and Logan goes, oh! Yeah, it was terrifying. Terrifying. But then Sarah... No, I've just said that. Bethany demands to know what the money and Harvey is all about, because that was the name that she kept on hearing. And she's about to call the filth when Sarah puts the kibosh on that. Bethany's unimpressed, and she's less impressed when Daniel comes round and he admits to knowing about Damon's money. Does everyone know about this?
Yes.
Sarah says this has been dragging on for weeks. Oh, sister, you are spot on. Daniel promises never to leave Bethany's side, which is all she needs. When he offers...
Just make sure it's the right side, Daniel.
When he offers to put Bethany and Sarah up at his place, she knocks him back, and later privately she tells Sarah that she's not ready to share a bed with Daniel yet.
And Sarah says, you live with Adam, so no thank you.
Meanwhile...
Which I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten.
We've all forgotten where Adam lives.
I for some reason, I thought Adam was still at Dee Dee's house. But then, of course, he wasn't at Dee Dee's house because Joel was going to move in.
Tell you something, though. When Adam lived in that flat, no one broke into it. Well,
No,
apart
that's
from
not
that
true.
woman.
Yeah.
That woman broke in, didn't she?
Yeah.
That flat has been broken into so often, twice in the last 3 months.
And yet it's one of the few flats on the street where you have to key in to get in the door.
Yep.
So
Oh,
how is that? Yeah. So how did Logan even get in? He's got the, well, does he have
got
a
the
key to
keys.
the upstairs and
yeah,
downstairs?
I guess.
Must be.
Meanwhile, Sarah goes to tell David about Harvey coming after the money that she doesn't have, and she's thinking about grassing up Jesse when she gets a call from another unknown number warning her that the next time they won't be so lucky.
Right. And yet, that was such a weird phone call, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because she says hello, and then she doesn't say anything. And you can't really hear anybody else on the other side. And then she just hangs up. Just like,
Yeah.
that was weird.
Later, David chases Lily away from rummaging in the cupboard under the stairs, and we see that Helen was right all along.
Ha!
This is where David is keeping all of Damon's lovely money
Zing!
in a rucksack.
Why would you keep this in a cupboard that everyone uses?
Yes.
Why is this not under your bed?
A cupboard
or in
in
your
the living room.
closet in your bedroom?
Right.
What is wrong with you, David? Especially if there's going to be people rummaging around and walking around the house to buy it. So
Yeah.
stupid. And then he doesn't move it.
Yeah, this is...
He leaves it there.
He opens it so we can see it. And then says, okay, everyone get a look at that? Okay, good.
Yes.
This was so obvious once you mentioned it. Because who else possibly had access to that voicemail to hear the address and the code? This
Correct.
was the vital part of the puzzle.
Yes.
And there was only one person that it could have been if it wasn't Adam. It had to be one or the other. And it definitely wasn't Adam. So this is David, I guess, going back to be evil David? Or certainly morally ambiguous David?
Desperate David.
I guess desperate David.
Desperate David, because his
Desperate
family's
David.
going to be homeless here in a minute.
On Wednesday, Sarah drops in at number 8, once again trying to make a case for Jesse being the robber. David, for some reason, continues to poo-poo it, thinking that Jesse's soft as shite and would be incapable of such a thing. David is far more concerned about Jesse and Gail being a thing. Sarah thinks that he's trying to make Eileen jealous. I'm not sure why Sarah is so down on Jesse, but this will continue through the episode.
Yes.
Later at the cafe, Carla tells Shona that she's putting an offer for number 8, but fuck that, says David when he comes in, and he announces that he's the one that's buying it. He's got a 100% mortgage,
Sure.
which aren't really things anymore.
Nobody gets 100% mortgage.
It just made me very nostalgic for pre-2008.
Yes, nobody gets 100% mortgage, and airlines don't move up your flight.
I remember getting a 105% mortgage at one point.
What?
Because our financial advisor was a little creative with filling out the forms. So we ended up getting more money than the bank wanted, which allowed us to furnish the house.
Oh,
It's quite nice.
fancy.
This is news to Shona, who is over the moon with him buying his mum's house. Back at number 8, Sarah's waiting to speak to Gail and Jesse, who are out for a walk. And I'm thinking at this point, so we're not getting Gail again this week, because they're constantly out doing something else, but they do turn up. And after a fashion, with Sarah sniping all the way, Jesse explains how implausible it is that he stole the money, seeing as he didn't have any passcode to any lockup. Fee, fi, fo, fum. Open the lockup that belongs to Damon, says Jesse. And oh, how we laughed.
Did we?
David did.
Because fee fi fo fum isn't even. If he said open sesame, that would make sense. But fee fi fo fum, that's what the giant says when he smells the blood of an Englishman. That has nothing to do with unlocking doors.
But it does kind of rhyme with Damon.
Does it?
Kinda.
Fum and Damon do not rhyme.
They're kind of half rhymes.
No.
Yes.
No. It was dumb and it was terrible. And he should have said open sesame.
Sarah is pretty unbearable at this point, but only an idiot would think Jesse took the money, so Sarah is convinced. But when Gail finds out that David is supposedly buying the house, she reckons maybe David took the money. Guilty, says David, and the idea is quickly passed over. Gail is getting pretty wound up by all this arguing, so she throws David and Sarah out. Later, Jesse is finding a bike pump under the stairs for Lily when he finds a rucksack full of cash, but before he can say anything about it...
Yeah, but the bike pump wouldn't be in that bag, Jesse. What the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah. The opportunity presents itself. Sure, you can have a little rummage. Gail comes down the stairs, super stressed, grabs her arm, and Jesse eventually, although it takes him quite a while, realises that she's sick and calls Gail an ambulance. Gail, you're an ambulance.
Yes.
When the paramedics arrive, it takes Gail 5 minutes to list all the medication she's on for her nerves. That was quite funny. Gail has been wheeled through the ER when she goes into arrest, and it looks like she might cark it. But by the time the family get to the hospital, she's still alive, but not quite out of the woods. Sarah wonders why Jesse is even here. Oh, fucking give it a rest, Sarah.
He's the one who brought her. Shut up.
He's beginning to regret trying to rekindle what happened in Thailand. And I'm like, are we still going on about this? Are you together or not?
Right.
You are, right? Because
Yeah.
you both said that you love each other.
Yeah.
So shut up with this
Right.
fucking
Yeah.
Thailand pish.
Seriously.
But he reckons that Gail needs a calmer, more stable and less stressful life. Later, a doctor purposelessly guides the family round the corner so that she can explain that Gail needs a stent fitted.
And Sarah doesn't know what a stent is.
Sarah has learned so many things about medicine in the past couple of weeks. She now knows what a stoma is.
Right.
She knows what sepsis is.
Right.
She knows what pneumonia is.
Yes.
She
And now
knows,
she knows what a stent is.
she knows the basics of heart surgery.
When
It's been an education.
When she says, "What's a stent?" David looks at her like, "Are you stupid?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside, David and Jesse are chatting, and Jesse tries to get David to open up, dancing around the money issue,
Correct.
but without directly mentioning it. It's unclear whether David picks up on this, but he says that he doesn't know Jesse, and he's not about to confess anything to him, and he wanders off.
Yeah.
And that is how we end this week's episodes.
Yes. So Gail's going to die on the show then?
No, I don't think so.
You don't
No.
think so?
No.
You don't think she's going to die?
If she was going to die, they wouldn't go to the bother of bringing Jesse back, I don't think. I imagine that Jesse and Gail are going to leave to go back to Thailand to see out their days. Because it's all they can fucking talk about.
Thailand? Mm-hmm. The food's very good.
Yeah.
The weather's nice.
They do superb Thai food there.
Yes, they do. Then what's the heart attack for? She's not going to die.
David to see the error of his ways.
I think
David to realise that family is more important than money.
I think he is well and truly fucked, because if he does confess to the family that he's got it, they're going to hate him for the rest of his life, because he has put Bethany and Sarah and Harry in danger.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's already been made pretty darn clear that Gail loves Sarah and her children more than she loves David and his children. So,
Yeah, David can't
and it
confess
doesn't
to
look like
this.
anybody cares about Nick and his child.
Well, Nick's not in the house. Nick's out living his own life.
Yeah, at this point.
I mean, I guess
He was on the couch briefly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's David that has really taken this to heart, obviously. But I don't know what choice Gail had. She needed to get Bethany home from Turkey.
Did she?
Or somebody had to.
Somebody
I mean, I'd
had
have been
to.
quite happy if they didn't, but
Somebody had to, but did it have to be Gail? And did it have to be a choice that she makes that will make more people homeless?
well, it sounded like they'd exhausted all their options because the crowdfunder wasn't working because everyone learned that Bethany was getting lipo. So that was all the options exhausted. I don't know how fucked you are. Well, you are fucked if you get ill abroad without insurance. But does everyone in your family need to get bankrupt to
Right, and homeless?
get you back? I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe that is what happens. Maybe there are no other ways when you can't do a crowdfunder because everyone's found out about your lipo.
Which is also just ridiculous. That people would be like, oh, she's nearly died, but it's because lipo. Never mind.
That,
You can die now.
yeah, and they also want a refund, so they want paid back. Where's Audrey's money?
There is that as well, isn't there? Because didn't she? No, she did. She got her money back from Steven. Didn't she? No, Jenny got the money,
And give it to Carla.
but didn't give it to Carla.
Well, eventually give it to Carla. Well, eventually.
She'll eventually pay her off. But in the meantime, Carla's making money off the Rovers.
Right.
Yeah. So not even Audrey got... And Audrey doesn't know this, does she? That Jenny stole the money. Only Carla knows this.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all kind of forgotten about that then.
This needs to go on Wendy's list.
Wendy's list of the things that the show's forgotten.
Yeah.
I need to look into exactly what the lay of the land is with that, because I'm very unclear on it. But at least let's say question marks about Audrey's money that she lost because of Stephen.
Because she got her house back, right?
No,
From the whole reverse mortgage thing?
I don't think so. I don't know how that would have worked.
Well, where is Audrey living then?
Well, that's the point of a reverse mortgage. You get to live in the house. It's just when you die, rather than the house being sold and the money being given to your loved ones, it goes to the company that have given you the reverse mortgage.
Oh, that's right.
22 items there on that list. That's a good list.
Here's a good list. Although, hasn't the show briefly remembered some of the things
Some
on the
of them,
list?
and I've scored some of them off. Yeah, I don't know where David really goes from here, because he's got this money
And he can't
to buy a
really use
house.
it.
He can't use it to buy a house. You can't go to the bank with a bag full of money and say, "Can I buy a house with this money, please?" And nor can you go to your bank and say, "Can I put this in my bank account?" Because they're going to be suspicious.
Right.
And you need to fill out forms, I think. Well, I know you do here if you want to deposit anything more than 10 grand. So
You deposit $5,000 at a time?
nah, you can't do that. They get wise to that. So yeah, he's fucked 6 ways to Sunday here, because he can't give the money back unless he gives it back to the gangsters. That's probably not a great idea. You can't admit to it because he'll be a pariah in his own family, because he's put Sarah and Bethany's life in danger by stealing it. And also he's lied about it.
Right.
And also he's let Jesse carry the can for it for so long.
Yes. It's very big of Jesse not to squeal on him already. Because Jesse knows now about the big bag of cash.
Right.
So, and it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out where that big bag of cash came from.
Yeah, well, it's not Gail. It's not Shona. Could be Lily.
Yes. Yes. Lily stole the money.
So it had to be David. So yeah, Jesse's probably playing this quite cleverly and just
Yeah.
observing,
Right.
now knowing what he knows. But he gave David a opportunity to come clean, and
Yeah.
and
David said no.
yeah.
9-9, Fräulein.
So no, I don't think they're going to kill off Gail. Do you think they're going to kill off Gail?
I think there's a possibility they might kill off Gail.
Again, I'm left to wonder how much this would have been different if it was Martin that was in it rather than Jesse. But there was a moment when everyone's shouting in the house and everyone's speaking apart from Gail,
Yeah.
and the conversation's about Gail's house and her.
Yeah.
And Jesse again feels like he's a proxy just been dropped in here.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like how, because like he did this with the ambulance people as well. You know, talking for Gail and speculating on Gail's behalf about, oh, she got riled up by the kids. It's all the kids' fault, sort of thing. I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I find it very suspicious that he keeps doing this.
And he also said what you guys needed was a man around the house.
Ugh.
As David quite rightly says.
I am a man, thank you.
And also, that was never the problem.
Right, yes.
The problem was the type of man that was around the house.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about Jesse. I don't know that he's a wrong un.
I don't think he's a right in either, though.
But I feel like there's
something.
What was it that he was in jail for? He was in jail for handling stolen goods.
Yeah.
So maybe he knows some people that could launder the money. And maybe that's how he gets involved in it.
Why would he help David, though, instead of just throwing him in?
Because he's a children's entertainer and he tries to do the right thing by doing the wrong thing. I don't know. I'm finding it very hard to care.
Yeah.
I really just wanted a quality story for Gail on her exit.
Yeah.
And yet another week goes by. Okay, just the 2 episodes, but another week goes by where it's very light on Gail, even in a week where she has a heart attack.
Yeah.
The conversations are all round about her. She's not the one that's in charge of it. she throws Sarah and David out, but it's all very... I really felt sorry for her. I felt sorry for the character, and I felt sorry for Helen Worth. When she's coming down the stairs, and she really did sound ill.
Yes.
And she sounded very fragile, and she
Yes.
sounded like she did sound like she was about to have a heart attack. I think she did a great job. But it just, I don't know, it just made me desperate for something better for her here at the end.
Yes.
But maybe the show will deliver. Who knows? But
knows?
at the moment, it is looking a little grim.
Yes.
And a tertiary character in their own exit just doesn't sit right for me at all.
No.
Well, that was the week that was Coronation Street. I am totally getting to my bed before midnight this week. That's
Woohoo!
excellent. Helen, what was your moment of the week?
It's tough when there's only 2 episodes.
I thought David was excellent this week.
David's been very good for quite some time. I can't really think of one scene where he was like really good. Though.
No.
He's very good in scenes, but none of them are like,
Well, he's good in this story, but there isn't one moment out of all of it,
yeah.
I don't think.
Is it the discovery that I was right? That's the moment of the week.
There
Yes.
we go. Helen was right. That's our...
Moment of the week.
Ha ha! Moment of the week.
Yeah, we don't use that very often.
Ha ha!
Your boring moment of the week.
What is this place that Sam wanted to go to that he didn't get to go to?
Jodrell Bank.
What is that?
It's astronomy. Like big radio telescopes.
And doesn't he say something? No. Roy at some point gave a factoid that was like apropos of nothing this week, didn't he?
He did, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. But it was kind of weird and kind of misplaced. So I think it's that.
No, we can't give boring moment of the week to a moment that we can't remember.
That's how boring it was. We can't remember it. Roy, spouting facts. That's our...
Ugh.
Boring moment of the week.
Again, it's tough with only 2 episodes.
It is. Okay, on to my non-scientific Twitter poll, which this time has been able to run its course. So these are the final numbers. Every week I ask our Twitter followers to rate the show in a 3-letter poll. Did they think it was yay? Did they think it was meh? Or did they think it was And this week was 32.7%, meh was 36.3%, and yay was 30.7%. So meh has it, but looks like it was a better week as far as our Twitter followers were concerned, but still very divided opinions. But
I think it's just because
As
it was
usual.
a shortened.
as
So
usual,
you can't really.
as usual, we don't allow that to sway our thoughts too much. But Helen, if you were to give this week's episodes a score out of 10, what would it be?
See, it's really hard to rate it when it's only 2 episodes because not enough happens.
I think it was better this week.
Was it?
I think so. I think a little better. I think I gave it a 5 last week, and I would give it a 5.5.
Even with the whole Bobby stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say about a 5.
Yeah.
Middle road.
It was fine. Mostly. All right. Let's wrap this one up then. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast. Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B, Brittany Porter, Laurie Anna, Tina, Colin Burt and Stephen. Thank you very much indeed, folks.
Thank you.
If you've ever been brutally tickled in a prison, write in to tell us about it. We're the Talk of the Street at gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. Or reach us the old-fashioned way, the Talk of the Street, P.O. Box 12, Eaton Rapids, Michigan 48827, which reminds me that I've got to go and check that this
Yes.
week.
And that's Eaton. E-A-T-O-N.
I think I'm quite clear. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street, or patreon.com/the talk of the street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store, YouTube channel and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Gav nearly died in a movie theater, but fortunately it was just vomit.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. And we will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.